Get ready for a Skagit River flood story and a brand new office tour coming up right now. This is my town's Riverwalk, Mount Vernon, Washington. It's really beautiful, but it's 2 days before Christmas in December and maybe not at its very best. In part because this is what we do in our town when we are threatened with major flooding. These are very expensive, multi-million-dollar Norwegian flood walls that we put up now about 2 weeks ago in preparation for what was predicted to be the highest flood level that we'd ever experienced here in Mount Vernon on the Skagit River. I live exactly half a mile from a bend in the Skagit River, exactly a mile pretty much from this spot, and so I had to do a lot of preparation. I want to show you now what the river looks like right now. Look at these pylons, these concrete pylons. I'll try to point them out to you. And now look at the way they were when the flooding was at its worst, or about the closest I can approximate. That's how much we're talking. And the predictions were that the river would reach 5 feet over its highest level ever. The river reached 37.4 feet, I believe it was, in 1990, 25 years before we ever arrived here in the Skagit Valley. And that apparently wreaked enough havoc, especially with downtown businesses here. It's a beautiful little downtown. We really love it. That they decided to put in this expensive flood wall. And then in 2021, the river threatened to go that high again, and in fact almost did. I think it was like 37.37 feet, just under the 1990 record. That kept me from going to the Evangelical Theological Society annual meeting, because I just wasn't going to leave my wife and small children at the time to the mercy of potential flooding, because indeed we are so close to the Skagit River. Now here in 2025, predictions were that the Skagit River at Mount Vernon would reach not 38 feet, not 39, not 40, not 41, but 42 point something feet. And these are credible predictions by intelligent people who know what they're doing. So everybody around here scrambled to try to prepare their properties for potential flood damage. And I was left wondering, what do I do with my brand new garage? I was stressed. That morning, it would have been a Wednesday now, 2 weeks ago. I was obviously not doing great, and my wife looked at me, and in her best Jay Adams impression, because she was trained in biblical counseling, she said, "Just because there's a flood coming doesn't mean we can't be godly." She was so right. My attitude changed very quickly, however, because about 30 people of various kinds from our church and the 7th and 8th graders from my kids' Christian school, my daughter's class, they showed up to help me raise everything in my garage, to put in sandbags, and to prepare for water and muck intrusion. And a key moment came when a good friend of mine told me, you actually can't really, keep water out of your office, your brand new office, but you can keep muck out. And if you have to redo the flooring and a little bit of drywall and insulation, that's not the end of the world. You're probably only going to get 1 or 2 feet if the river does flood, but you want to prevent muck intrusion. So we set it up so that no muck could get through the main doorways. That's the garage and the garage door. And we evacuated. We took off with our chickens, put them in the trailer in a little enclosure we have for them, and took them to high ground, the farm of friends. And we went to Oak Harbor on Whidbey Island, high up on a hill, where we couldn't be touched by the Skagit River. And we had 2 wonderful days where we could just hang out with friends, and I got to do some work. I got a little bit behind, but actually it was just really, really fun. I had a camera on in the garage to let me know how things were doing. I had many, many people praying for me and expressing concern for me. And sure enough, everything was absolutely fine. The river did not crest as high as they predicted. The predictions kept going down and down. There was some flooding in the town north of us that is, either a sister city or, almost basically our town just across the river. We go there all the time. We don't really think of it as a different town. It's Burlington. And I did have some friends who had some flooding. They were mostly expecting it. The one that wasn't, basically the flood reached between his house and his neighbor's house and caused him to have to get new carpet and to redo some insulation and drywall in a room that used to be the garage. And I helped him get his stuff into he's a pastor in this area. I helped him get his stuff into storage along with his son. That was the extent of it. I tried to find other people to help, and there weren't any. The Lord answered my specific direct prayer that my office would not be touched. And as I began to think about other people and pray for them too, he answered my prayer that the people that are closest to me would not be touched. Even that pastor said, this flood was a blessing in disguise. We really needed new carpet. And now we're going to get it. So thank you for praying. Thank you so much for expressing your interest. And now, let me show you the office tour I promised at the beginning. All right, you ready to see the garage office that you helped build? Let's go see it. This garage has been housing 2 of my cars and all of our Blackburn Garden stuff for quite some time. Just to give you some indication, Blackburn Gardens is over here. I just stepped in mud. Hopefully I won't get it on my floor in my new office. And I decided that I wanted to use my garage space instead of for my 2004 Yukon, which doesn't really need to be protected from the elements because it's not all that nice. I wanted to build this box. So this box in this garage now holds my really precious possession, and that is the office that, again, you helped build. Let's enter. Echo stop. This is it. I'm going to send my little son just walking backwards all the way over there, and I'm going to give you a little tour. This is the door that I haven't painted yet, but I didn't want to wait any further to give you this tour. I'm just going to start. This is the door. This is one of 6 bays of bookcases in which I've got books. And these books have been in boxes now for 1.5 years to some cases 2 years. Let me have you come around this way. And here are my Bibles. I've got 4 shelves of them, couldn't fit them all. Then I go A to Z with my books. And I'm missing some shelf stays. So the B's are in a bit of a mess. I have a chair. I have never had a leather recliner, and I went to the local furniture store right down the street. Actually, I was standing right next to it when I was filming the part of the video where I was looking at the river, and I really liked this 2 levels of reclination. Ooh, and this really great place to put whatever shorter catechism or prayer list or a bibliotheca volume I happen to be having. I can put it on here and it'll stay. I'm reading my friend Todd Haynes' book, The Martin Luther and the Rule of Faith, Reading God's Word for God's People. I've got my Kindle. What more do I need? Well, I need a lamp, but I've got an IKEA lamp. I've got a heater. I've got a little desk. I'm going to have my assistant step over here, and the camera will continue to follow me as I show you this portion of the office. I've got a 1611 King James edition on this little desk that has the active books that I'm using for various studies, things that I'm teaching, things that I'm writing. I have got a vacuum because I don't yet have a welcome mat and little detritus comes in on my shoes all the time. I've got lights, I've got tripods. I have got this microphone on a boom arm that you're not supposed to see, but it picks up my voice and goes through into the Mix Pre 3. Here's my Sony a7 IV with a teleprompter and a little monitor screen and a clock so that while I'm on interviews and I'm sitting here looking, I can look up and see what time it is without making it look like I am. I've got my monitors, which were the only thing that kind of got damaged during the floods. During the floods, the preparation for the flood, we stacked up everything. We stacked up sandbags outside this garage door. I can open this garage door. I had to get all my books up off of the floor, and so these shelves, I had to get all the books up onto this shelf or higher with a lot of help from my daughter's 7th and 8th grade class. I had to move furniture either out of here or up on blocks. That's what I did with the credenza over there. It was quite the operation, and I'm so grateful for those who helped. Let me now take over the camera. Thank you. My son can come and stand behind me, and I am going to... I decided that what I wanted in this room was space. And so I asked my good friend Nate, who knows everything, to design a box that would go up nice and high. That wall goes up 13 feet. I just didn't want these trusses which would have been the easiest way to put up a ceiling to be the ceiling. I would have had flooring pushing me up a little bit and drywall and everything on those trusses just above my head. I just didn't want that. I need also to be able to put lighting up in those trusses. And sure enough, I have my old Godox 60-watt light that you don't know this, but has lit me for dozens, hundreds of videos in my old office and inside my house, right up there, clipped and directed down toward me, so that while I am sitting at this desk, which you'll see in a second, while I'm sitting here, I don't really have a wide angle view, so that while I'm sitting at this desk, I can have what's called a hair light. It separates you from the background. I can have a key light, which is bouncing off this white wall. And though you can't see it now, I have an accent wall. I have a dark blue accent wall on the back. I just cannot tell you how grateful I am for the good gift that this office is for me. I have had 5 years since COVID in which, well, I was going to say I couldn't really get quiet, and then ironically enough, the train, which is right over there, just started blowing its horn. We just did not figure that we could keep out train noise and leave a garage door. Maybe you can hear it, maybe you can't, but the train is, I don't know, 100, 150 yards away and comes through pretty often and rather loud. But still, I can get away from the family, whom I love, while still being as close to the family as possible, available for them, available for crises, available for lunch, around all the time. I took a big risk at the beginning of 2025 and decided that I wanted to go out on my own. I wanted to be able to take the jobs that came to me and not take a full-time job. That was fairly scary, especially for my wife, but I was able to convince her, because I think God was in it, that it could be done. I was given an opportunity because of the way things shook out at my previous position to get a bit of a head start. I knew that the time was coming when I wouldn't work there anymore, and I ramped up my design business. But one thing that really was a continual frustration and difficulty was that I was just constantly interrupted. And my kids weren't being bad, they're just being kids. Somehow when Dad is out in the garage and there are contretemps, conflicts inside, Dad isn't needed until they're really bad. But if Dad's inside, Dad's got to run and handle those things. And I didn't resent that, but saw this is not a long-term solution. I prayed and waited and talked with my wife 1,000 times over years to figure out what to do. Another big problem I had is that I could never read a paper book. If I tried to sit down and read one, I would be instantly called on to do something. I just could not ever sit down and read. And that's not a good thing when that's your job. Now, I still managed to read. I managed to find ways. I would go to coffee shops. That gets expensive. $6 a pop for a latte, which you feel obligated to buy. I would read at night while my wife is sleeping, but I needed to be able to read during the day. I needed to be able to have phone calls with potential clients of all kinds, editing, Bible-related stuff, design-related stuff. I needed to be able to schedule interviews to record for the channel at any possible time. And I just could not do that when I worked inside the house. So, once again, thank you. Somebody paid for the flooring that's underneath me. Somebody paid for the electrical wiring that we had to buy at Lowe's. I did this work with friends, and I want to thank them. I'm just going to use their first names. I want to thank Nate. I want to thank Jared. Nate designed this for me and put it all in SketchUp and put it on blueprints for us to work on. He helped me frame it all in one huge 12-hour day. My friend Paul and his wife Lauren both helped. Paul helped all that 12-hour day, and then he brought his wife Lauren the next week to help me on another Saturday to finish out the framing, to start with the insulation. It was amazing. We borrowed Nate's compressor and nail gun, which is really cool. Always wanted to use one of those things. My friend Jared helped on that first 12-hour day. all kinds of work that he did. He helped with the flooring as well, big time. My friend Justin, who happened to be off work and is a machine, an animal when it comes to work, he gave me 7 full work days putting up the drywall in here. The only thing I hired out was finishing out the drywall. I just felt I couldn't do that and was told by a lot of people, that's not the kind of thing that you want to have to learn. I put up the trim myself. I didn't do the most excellent job, but I got it up. I did have somebody else paint, but he offered to do it for free. I got help from a 17-year-old precocious young man in my church. Everybody in my church would know exactly who I'm talking about, who loves theology, and he helped me put all the books on the shelves and organize them A to Z. I got help from all kinds of people, and I fear I'm leaving some out. I just want to say thank you to every one of you who's watching, who gave or prayed for me in the floods. It would have been a very hard blow if I had to redo a bunch of this work and maybe lose books. Oh man, that would have been so difficult. I am so grateful to the Lord that I'm able to be in here, and this today is literally the first day, 2 days before Christmas 2025, in which I've got everything in here that's supposed to be in here. It's all in the places it's supposed to be in, and I don't have anything else that I've got to move in here. I cannot wait to really get at it. Every day that I've been in here, it kind of nags at you while I'm working. I'm thinking, oh man, there's more stuff to do. There's no more stuff to do. Okay, the little tiny things. I might do some more decorating and we'll see. But for most intents and most purposes, it's all done. I am rambling. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the story of the flood. That's the story of The Office. And I just want to say, I would not indulge these kinds of, videos that are all focused on me as a person, except I got such kind notes, and so many of them from people wanting to know how I fared in the floods and wanting to know how The Office was doing. I thought we could probably get away with one video, and those who don't want to watch don't have to.